Yo, there's something beautiful about Bearcats basketball. High flying.
Kenyon with a jam.
Shot denying.
Miles rejected.
There's just an energy that comes with the Cats. A rich history built on toughness.
And Mick Cronin looks like he wants a technical.
A bring-your-own-lunch pail mentality. For a long time, UC was the hunted.
And I felt that we couldn't lose.
I think it's time the Bearcats do a little hunting of their own.
Once y'all done with them, send them to me, man. You know what I mean? We can put them on the court. Keep that Bearcat thing going.
I am fired up.
Takes it all the way. Oh! It's going to be Little.
I wonder how Steve Logan would be over in Afghanistan or somewhere. I bet he'd be pretty poised. He just does not get rattled.
Bandaogo, he'll cut it loose. Watch out. Stevenson cuts it about. Oh! Kilpatrick outruns everybody. Johnson, the exclamation point.
We've been dealt the king of heartbreak over and over again.
Rozier. Smith and
Everything they worked for was undone on one play.
But I see the light. The Cats are back.
Lukosius, open three, got it!
Yeah, we're not going to finish. Again, this is what the season's become, Houdini. We don't even get to get through the intro video. First of all, do you have me before we welcome everyone that listens to the audio podcast in the morning to the show? Mic sound loud and clear, tap, tap.
Unfortunately, I have you, and unfortunately, I think you probably have me, right? Am I good?
I got you, loud and clear. So let's start this thing for everyone in the morning. All right. Welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats, everyone. Cincinnati falls on their home floor, 81-71, taking a beat down to the hands of the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who shoot it 12 of 31 from deep. They dominate the offensive glass 10-3 in that statistic, and they put Cincinnati on the outside looking in terms of the bubble as we enter the late portions of January. Houdini, welcome to the show. Hudson Klauke, Charlie Walter. This is Chatterbox Bearcats. You can find it wherever you get your audio podcast. We stream live after the games on YouTube. And this has become way too reoccurring of a theme. Walking out of Fifth Third Arena cold, walking out of Fifth Third Arena sad, or in the case of me and you, sitting in our basement/kitchens, disgusted with what we saw. And I mean, Cincinnati shot at 51% from the floor. They attacked. But when it came down to it, this was supposed to be a really good rebounding team, and they got manhandled on the glass in their home gymnasium. How do we feel, Houdini? I think I know the answer, but let's summarize that in one word.
You just had to. I'm not doing it in one word, Chuck. This is a podcast. We're going for a while here, okay? So you're just not a serious basketball team if you don't win this game. This could have changed the trajectory of the whole season. We said we were calling this a must-win. You win this game, all of a sudden you're 3-4. You're right back in the mix. You finally get a damn quad one win at home. And no, we didn't. I mean, we saw flashes offensively, like you said. What happened to our identity being a defensive and a good rebounding team? They threw all that out the window. I mean, we got bullied, and I know it was 10-3 offensive boards, but it was 10 in the worst spots ever. Like we would get it down to great defense for 29 seconds. They'd shoot a bad three. We'd give up 3 offensive boards. And they'd hit a 3. It was just in the worst timing. It's like the toughness is gone. The arena was dead. It felt like we were on a damn golf course out there from what I heard on TV. So it's just a really tough spot to lose this game. If you're a serious basketball team, you beat Texas Tech at home. You just do.
Here's the disgusting thing about all this. One is Xavier's picking up steam. They're potentially in a better position to make the NCAA tournament than us. Don't look now, but that's a serious thing. So to all the Bearcats fans out there that were saying, we want Xavier to win for our NCAA tournament resumes. Well, you've been rooting for a team that may just make the tournament, and then they have more ammo on us, which is disgusting. But let's not bring up little brother down the street's name for the rest of the show. This brings me back to my point where I told you the Minnesota Golden Gophers story, where I was down at the bar in Chicago and I tapped on my buddy's shoulder and I said, look at those idiots in Minnesota Golden Gophers gear. Who the hell cheers on the Golden Gophers? And that fan or that friend that I was with, who's also a Providence fan, told me, dude, you cheer on the Cincinnati Bearcats. Who the hell do you guys think you are? He texted me today and he said, I found a get-rich-quick scheme. I just bet against Cincinnati every single game, and I don't even sweat. And he's right, man. I mean, if you're fading the Bearcats right now, good for you, because it seems to hit every single time. Here was the story of the first half. 42 points from Texas Tech. CMOS didn't take a shot in the first half. If I would have told you that Texas Tech had 42 in the first half and CMOS didn't take a shot, what would your answer have been?
We're getting killed. We're getting murdered out there. Wasn't the case, man. Wasn't the case. They went nuclear from three. Granted, we weren't even attempting to guard the 3-point line for some of those. They were just walking right into them. Like, dude, we just saw them make 5 in a row, maybe get a hand up. But yeah, our offense kept us in the game in the first half. We were only down 4. I actually felt pretty good. And then right when we started the second half, they just started banging back-to-back threes. We lost a little bit of a step offensively, and then it was downhill from there, man.
All right, the link to join the show is in the chat. If you want to click on that thing, you could pop in backstage. We'll bring you in, make this interactive, hear everyone's gripes, and there are plenty of them right now as Cincinnati falls to 2-5 in the Big 12. This felt like a must-win game, and must-win is so cliche. It's so overused because we said Colorado was must-win. We said Arizona State was must-win. I'm pretty sure we used the Xavier game as a must-win example as well. But this was a need to win game, right? On your home floor against a team that you think you're about as good as, or before this game, we thought we were about as good as. This was a game that you just needed to prove to the Bearcat faithful, to prove to the podcasters, all right, maybe we should give Wes Miller that apology, and maybe he should be saying thank you to us because this team is legitimate, and it doesn't feel that way, man. I know that there's a lot of season left to go. There are plenty of winnable games. 500 could potentially get you in there with the way the NCAA tournament's structured nowadays. But there's only so many opportunities for quad 1 wins on your home floor. And Cincinnati pissed them all away. I mean, they got Baylor in February, and that's about it. Aside from that, what this loss does is it makes road games at like Houston and road games at Iowa State, it makes one of those a must-win in order to not sweat on Selection Sunday, or else it's going to be sweaty March, which at this point, I'll just take sweating in March. I'll take sweating in February at this point. I mean, it doesn't even feel like we're going to be sweating, and it's January 21st. With that being said, this also makes that Baylor game at home pretty much a must-win, right? You can't lose every single quad 1 opportunity at home and expect to get the invitation to the big dance.
We've got a lot of quad 1 wins still in front of us. Are we going to win them? I just don't know if this team's good enough, man. I really don't. Like, I think we're just going to be battling for a NCAA berth at best. I don't know if we could ever go make a deep run in March. I mean, we just got to get to March. We're still in the mix there because we have a lot of opportunity in front of us. But, like, I don't know if this team is good enough. We don't have that dog on the roster. I know we talked about it in the offseason, and we thought, hey, maybe, a combination of CMOS, Jizzle, and Dan could get it done. But we don't have like a Jaron Cumberland. We don't have a Landers Nolly or a Gary Clark. We just don't have like that guy that can take over a game like JT Toppin did to us today. We just don't have one. And I don't know if that's, hey, I guess the one positive that you saw today was the offense moved a little bit better. And Jizzle James, when he had a fantastic night, 8 of 12, 17 points. We haven't seen that from him basically since the non-conference slate. But I just don't know if we have the depth and the talent really to compete with the top dogs in the conference by any means.
Offense wasn't the issue. 51% from the floor for Cincinnati. The 3-point shooting, they hoisted less than they typically do, just 14 compared to Texas Tech's 31. Unfortunately, Cincinnati only made 3 of them in the game. Betsy had 1, Jizzle had 1 for 4, and CMOS had 1 for 4. 3 players in double figures. It was Mitchell 12, CMOS 10, and Lukosius 17. You mentioned it. But going back to what you said about the not having a dog, I remember we had Ryan Hammer on the show, who's got like 1 million TikTok followers. Big get for Niehaus. Niehaus just slid into the DMs. He's like, hey, I got Ryan Hammer on the show. I'm like, who's Ryan Hammer? And Lily's like, you don't know who Ryan Hammer is? He's basketball gospel. So I took everything that he said with grains of sea salt. I valued his opinion. And when I asked him about Cincinnati being a legitimate contender, he basically said, I look up and down the roster and I think you guys could have some trouble. because there's no alpha there. And I was like, oh, Jizzle James, it's Jizzle James. Well, Jizzle was the alpha today, and the team just didn't have enough to take down Texas Tech, which brings me to this point. It's year 4 of Wes Miller, and I don't want to turn this into the Rag on Wes show. I've done that plenty this year. But for anyone that keeps saying, like, give him more time, he's going to figure this out, give him more time. Texas Tech turned this team around in 1 year. And by turning around, they made the tournament last year, but they lost everyone. They flipped their entire roster. They went out in the portal. They brought in a brand new crop of guys, and this is what they brought to the table, a team that smoked Cincinnati at Fifth Third Arena. This is not Mick Cronin's first year where you got to go out and get Tim Crowell and Marvin Gentry and Adam Chanyuk and Hernal Hall and all these different guys just to field a team. This is a different era. You brought this up the other day, Hudson, because Mike Woodson is on the hot seat at Indiana. And Mike Woodson's made a couple of NCAA tournaments. He's been at Indiana as long as Wes has been at Cincinnati. Louisville, who's considered a worse program by all standards historically compared to Cincinnati, fired Chris Mack after 4 seasons when he made the tournament 1 and probably would have made it 2 seasons if it wasn't for COVID. Wes has the longest leash in America. It's truly that way right now. This program is a lot bigger than Wes Miller. I'd be saying this if it was, Pat Kelsey was our head coach year 4 and he was struggling, whoever it may be. This program's a lot bigger than one coach. And we are in the situation right now where they're not going to fire him regardless of what happens because of this buyout situation. So we need to start pointing our fingers to the top, fellas. This ain't on Wes. It's on a guy named John. John! What have you done to our beloved Bearcats athletics program? We lose at home way too much, man.
Oh, I'm so used to it. Like my girlfriend passed by when the game was in the second half, and she was like, "Oh, are we winning?" And I was like, "Nope, we're definitely losing." And she was like, "Oh, you're not even pissed." I'm like, "I'm used to it. I am used to it. It's getting bad. Like we don't protect home court at all." And to your point, 4 years into a tenure at a program like the UC, not making the tournament once is just completely unacceptable. It's an objective failure by all standards. There's just no way that it can happen. Even sneaking into the tournament one time isn't good enough. And the one person I was trying to look at programs that kind of aligned with where UC is, and some names came up, Illinois, for example. Like I was like, oh, a coach would be gone in 4 years if he didn't make the tournament. Somebody brought up Pittsburgh and Jeff Capel. I'm like, that guy stinks. He should have been fired 3 years ago. So it's a tough spot to be in. I know Wes says all the right things, and he's certainly a good guy. Seems like a good leader, but at some point you got to put the product on the floor that actually wins basketball games. So you better do it at home. And he's not doing it. He just isn't doing it.
All right, from a fan perspective, let's welcome in Mac to the show. Mac, where are we calling from, my brother? How we doing?
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm calling from Maryland.
Mac from Maryland, a Cats fan from Maryland.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what I've noticed here this season is that we do have the talent. The talent is there. However, and excuse the dark room, I'm in my movie room here. So
oh, you're living the dream down there, my man. Yeah, that's a great spot to watch the game. I like those seats.
Oh, yes, sir, for sure. But with greater size screen comes with greater disappointment. So the thing is that they have the talent is there. However, I've noticed that they don't have that same. Like I grew up in the late '80s, early '90s, and so I'm used to seeing teams that were afraid to play us. Like after we would lose a game, like teams were afraid to even get on the court with us. I don't see that. Like these guys in this game were bullied. You can tell that they had a game plan, shoot threes. I mean, these guys, they're great players on Texas Tech. I wouldn't say they're great, but I mean, they came in with a game plan and they executed that. And we would typically, we would stuff that game plan. We would defend that three. We would press, half court press, Bearcat traps, all throughout the court. I did not see that at all. And it's very frustrating to see kind of the same thing. I thought Aziz, he's a great shot blocker, but there was some rebounds that he was laxy daisy. I didn't see any hustle, getting rebounds, blocking out, closing out on those three, pushing those guys off the 3-point line. I did not see that. And it's just, I mean, at some point it comes down to coaching. I'll let you guys speak.
Good stuff, Mac. 100%. And that's where the debate kind of comes into play. Like, is this a talent issue? Is it a coaching issue? Is it half and half? And quite frankly, if it is a talent issue, that is on the coach, right? You can point to Texas Tech as the perfect example of a coach that just overloaded his roster in one season. You thought they'd potentially be screwed because they're bringing in a bunch of different players, but they got it done. And that's Texas Tech. Like, before Bob Knight got to Texas Tech, and even when Bob Knight was at Tech, like, who the hell are the Red Raiders at the end of the day, Hudson? Like, you can't tell me that they're a better basketball program than Cincinnati.
No, and he's right. Nobody's afraid to come into Fifth Third Arena anymore. We've seen it time and time again where programs like Texas Tech beat us. And we got Mac in Maryland building the sickest man cave I've ever seen in my life. And he's got to watch this shit. He works too hard for that. We got to turn this around, man, because he's right, though. It's like we got out-battled, out-toughed, out-willed, out-hustled. They were just launching threes. I mean, they ended up shooting 38%, solid clip, but they were just throwing it up and just getting the offensive board like it was no issue. We were ball watching, not boxing out, like just the standard stuff you expect from a UC basketball team. We just don't have it, and we've shown it all year.
I mean, I know this clip doesn't necessarily work because we are the Cats, but you know this, Houdini. We don't need no cats. We don't need no meows. You need to be more like a dog. Bo's in the back barking. I got to shut Bo up. Let's welcome in Jake. Jake, where are you calling from, Jake?
Calling from Golden, Colorado.
Colorado. Wow. We got Cats fans from all over the country. What's on your mind, Jake?
I was just calling in. I'm a UC student, and I just want you guys to say some prayers to the students, man. 0 tournament appearances since 2019. I mean, just a horrible time to be a UC basketball fan as a student. It sucks. It really does suck.
Dude, and that's the thing, like attending these games or talking to the other students around the campus, like there's still a lot of buzz, which is why I believe that this is a top basketball program and not just like pointing to the past like a USF Dons does or a St. John's does, although St. John's is all right now. But, one of those programs that points to 25, 30 years ago, like this program kind of sucks right now. Like we haven't been good in a while. Even when we were in the American the last few years, we weren't winning games. Yet it still seems like people care. I mean, Jake's in Colorado. He's pissed off.
Yeah, it's been bad. I mean, I'm a student myself. I'm actually interning here in Colorado, but I thought I was going to get screwed over. I thought the team was going to the Final Four for sure, and I was going to miss it all. Guess I'm not missing much. So
no, you're not.
It's not good.
Thanks for being a part of the program, man. Houdini,
of course. Appreciate it, Brad.
Yep.
No, I mean, a lot. People have given some flack to the student section for not being fired up enough, and I didn't even think about it like that. He's right. People have been there for 4 years. They're going into their senior year, and they haven't seen a tournament appearance. That's tough, man. So, yeah, thoughts and prayers to the student section.
I mean, this was a program that was ready to run Mick out of town. Run Mick out of town for losing in the first round, sometimes the second round as a 7, 8 seed, whatever it may be. And granted, Mick had 10 years and lost games, whatever it may be. This is year 4. This is year 4 of the same thing, the same issues. I told you before the season, I was like, hey, we're going to have that conversation about Wes if this team struggles. And we all shrugged our shoulders and just said, they're not going to struggle. They have too much talent. Lily on a show 3 weeks ago, when I said this team, if they miss the NCAA tournament, could Wes be on the hot seat? He said, that's inconceivable. This team ain't missing the NCAA tournament. It's starting to look that way.
We're 13th in the Big 12 right now. It's very much looking that way. Now, you don't want to overreact too much, but I mean, so far this season, we have been atrocious by all standards. I mean, really, our best win is Xavier. And I know you mentioned that, whatever, they just beat Marquette. Yeah, they have a better trajectory than we do, which I did not see coming. So it's a really tough spot to be in. Again, we do have plenty of opportunities, but do you feel good about actually capitalizing on any of those? Because I don't.
Can you imagine, as a UC fan, having one season where we had a roster overhaul like that and had a team that played like Texas Tech. Can you imagine?
Certainly not. We've seen us try to do that. I mean, hell, we thought coming into the season with the guys on the roster that this was the year. We were like, this is the year. It all makes sense. We're all going to get out aboard the West train, and that has not come to fruition at all. And this would have been huge because, I mean, seriously, we won this game. Would you not be feeling great right now? Rattle off 3 straight. You're 3-4. You get your first quad 1 win of the season. You actually protected home court. I'd be feeling great. We didn't do it. We didn't get it done.
No, and the schedule doesn't get any easier. That's the tough thing about it. Technically, it does get easier, but it's at BYU. It's at Utah. I mean, do you feel like both of those games are gimmies?
Absolutely not, especially at BYU. Hell, Utah could beat us too. Our old guy, Gabe Matson, might drop 50 on us if we don't know how to defend a 3-point shot. Granted, let's admit Texas Tech analytically is like a top 15 offense in the country. I just didn't see us getting out rebounded like this and just getting physically dominated.
That's what it was.
Right?
If we just didn't guard the perimeter well enough, because we had to kind of pick our poison. Like Toppin was killing us inside. Toppin for the game had 20 points. So, I mean, you had to throw doubles on him on the inside, and sometimes that led to open shooters. Okay, we understand that. It was the offensive rebounds that killed me, that turned into kickouts, and sometimes even multiple offensive rebounds where it was like third chance points. You cannot have that and be a serious basketball team when you have an offense that struggles. You just can't. And that's what this team is.
We get Roy Williams to be an assistant head coach. He seems to love Wes, says he's the toughest player he's ever had, which is a wild statement to make as he coached UNC to multiple national titles. But, I mean, I guess I believe it. Maybe get him on the damn coaching staff because he's always here watching games. He's always at Cincy. He's always clapping for Wes. He was fired up. Apparently got the largest basket of popcorn that they even sold at the arena. And then we had to do that in front of him. It's a damn shame, Chuck. It really is.
So after BYU and Utah, Cincinnati will have West Virginia at UCF, BYU and Utah again in 5th, 3rd. So technically, I mean, here's the glass half full kind of things. If you want to be completely delusional, maybe you had a little too much of the reefer tonight, you can look at this thing and say, whoa, dude, BYU, Utah, West Virginia, UCF, BYU, Utah, that was 6 games we penciled in as wins before the season. Unfortunately, this isn't before the season. This is reality, and reality is starting to set in that, like, I'll take 4-2 at this point in that stretch, and that'll be difficult. I mean, a road matchup in Orlando against the Knights, don't Sharpie that thing in as a W. But at some point, since he's going to have to start winning some games that they are not supposed to win. That's been the storyline of Wes Miller's tenure, whether it's, you know, in the American when they played Memphis, or whether it's all these games against Houston that they've lost. I mean, Kelvin Sampson, you said before the season, I'm not even afraid of Kelvin Sampson in Houston. I think we're going to take him down with ease. We're terrified of Kelvin Sampson, who is Wes Miller's father. But whether it's those two, whether it's going into the Big 12 and now playing home games against Texas last year, or having Oklahoma when Cincy had a winning streak going, or to make it a winning streak, a road game against Oklahoma, the home game against Houston where Cincy had a double-digit lead last year. Like, they just can't get over the hump and get that W that they need that shows me that this team is for real. And the longer that it goes on, the more and more fans are starting to lose faith. I heard some more boos again at the stadium tonight. Place sounded like a funeral home, aside from that Jizzle James dunk and a few plays here and there. I mean, it's the sad reality of the state of Bearcats athletics right now. We're better than this. We deserve better than this.
Yeah, and just looking ahead as far as we want to do the quadrant game, we got BYU quad 1, Utah quad 1, West Virginia quad 1, UCF quad 1. So we got 4 quad 1s in a row, and that being because it's at BYU and at Utah, the way the quads, and at UCF, which I don't know if it matters if we play at home anymore. Like, I'd rather go on the road sometimes at this point. So we have opportunities in front of us. I mean, even today, kind of off topic, but we're down. We bring it down to 5 points, and then Day missed the front end of that 1-and-1, man. And then just like that, we're down 11. Like, we had multiple opportunities to get back into it too. That's why it was such a shame to watch, man. We just couldn't finish the deal, and getting yourself in a hole 10 points doesn't help.
Texas Tech shoots at 39% from three on the season. UC holds teams to 27% from three. That's second in the nation. So it was kind of like, all right, their offense against our defense, which is going to win? Clearly, the 81 points from Texas Tech gets it done in that offense versus defense debate. So not the must win, not the should win, just one the Cats needed to win for morale, and they do not get it done. Look, Tech's got a good defense too. I mean, they hadn't allowed a single point in the final 5 minutes of the last two games, but this was one where Cincy needed a big win on their home floor because, like I said, aside from Baylor, we may not have another one, and if you don't win this, it just makes other games bigger. So it is brutal. I saw in the game today that Jizzle was 2 for his last 24 from three before he knocked one down. A lot of these are open threes. He's got to get to the gym and figure that out because in transition, he's as good as we've seen a Cincinnati player minus Jaron Cumberland, Sean Kilpatrick, minus those two in the last 15 years. I mean, Jizzle in transition, even if it's 1v2, you feel confident that he's going to put the ball in the bucket. Let's start with Dan Skillings. Let's kind of break this down piece by piece because Dan Skillings announced last year that this is it for him. He's heading to the association after this year, and we were all just so excited that Dan came back that we overlooked the fact that he proclaimed he's going to the NBA. He had 5 points today, 5 rebounds in 26 minutes, 2 of 6 from the floor today. Dan Skillings is coming back to Cincinnati next year. He's playing in Europe. I hate to break it to him.
Oh yeah, no, he's nowhere close to NBA ready.
Not even
he'll
close.
Be playing in Shanghai or something if he wants to go pro, which is fine. I'm sure UC will be able to offer him more money. So I mean, I guess you could look at it that way that Dan Skillings is probably going to come back, but I don't think he hasn't really been great after that injury. To be quite honest, he went nuclear from three, which made his stats look a lot better than I think they really were. And then we saw him come down to earth here recently. He had a couple really bad misses from three. I was almost laughing out loud at one of them. He didn't even come. It was like 4 feet off. And yeah, he looks sloppy today, man. 5 boards, 5 points. Usually, no matter what, Dan Skillings on the floor is a net positive, but I didn't see that tonight at all.
Elite Bearcat fans saying, can't surrender on the mental, even with the weed insult considered. Hey, that's not an insult, man. That's positive living. Anything that gives you the rose-colored glasses to look at that schedule and think that we have some wins, sign me up for it. Sign me up for it. Jason says Dan is about as dumb as Aziz testing NBA waters last offseason. This is what it's become to. We're attacking our own guys now, Houdini. That's where we stand as Cincinnati Bearcats fans, unfortunately. But I'm going down the list of guys on this team, and it's not good enough. Page had some decent minutes today offensively, but I thought there were a few moments where he did not put a body on, I think it was Toppin, and they got boards and they kicked it out and they hit threes. And that's something I want to see more of. He was watching.
He was ball watching, dude. He wasn't boxing out for shit. And he did look, you could look at it that way too. Arrington Page actually had a number of nice moves to the basket, which we desperately need. And then he lost it all, basically given second chance rebounds on the defensive side of the ball. So then Wes was like, you know what, screw it. Let's get Aziz back in. It's tough. I mean, Betsy hit a 3. That was nice to see, a big 3 at the time. But yeah, it gets tough when you got Dillon Mitchell, Aziz Bandaogo, Arrington Page, and even Jizzle James when they can't shoot threes.
No.
I mean, you don't have to guard them. So when you have 3 of those guys on the court at once, or 2 of them even, it just clogs everything up. I mean, Seamoss could not – he looked like he was running for his life out there. I mean, he was struggling. He couldn't get by anybody. They were right on his ass every time he got to the three-point line for that little fadeaway 3 he likes to take. It was a tough outing for him as well. I mean, when you get 1 of 7 and 2 of 6 from Seamoss, Lukosius, and Dan Skillings, respectively, it's going to be tough to win.
All right, Matt Meyer says there needs to be major roster overhaul. Guys like Aziz, Seamoss have no business starting for teams expecting to be successful. They're bench guys or starters for mid-majors. They definitely have roles on very good teams, but maybe you're asking a little too much specifically of Seamoss. You know, he's Butler's top guy, but Butler hasn't been good in a long time, and we want to be great. Let's welcome in Vaughn. He's great. Where are you calling from, Vaughn? What's on your mind?
Hey, I'm calling from Houston, man. I'm a Cougs fan, but I love you guys' show, man.
Appreciate you, Vaughn.
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna tell you what's missing from these guys. You know that old Cincinnati teams, they always had someone that got into everybody's grill, you know, when they weren't playing Cincinnati ball. And these guys they look like a bunch of good guys just playing basketball in the backyard. And you can't have that in the Big 12. I mean, you couldn't even have that in the AAC, but you certainly can't have it in the Big 12. You got to have somebody that lights the fire. And there's nobody on the team. The coach likes the fire, but he needs a player to light the fire. You know, a senior, a junior, somebody that, you know.
You've seen this firsthand, Vaughn, because you saw your Cougars demolished by Cincinnati for many years, and there was always that guy. Any conference, it was like SK, leader, Jaron Cumberland, leader, Gary Clark, leader. Sometimes you had them on the same team, and it was every single team had it. Mick Cronin's teams, they all had that guy, that alpha, the guy that you knew you could put the ball in his hands. You knew that he was going to play hard every single night and hold the team accountable. And then it switched. You got John Brannon in, and they had some good players. You know, David DeJulius, great player. Landers Nolly, great player. Wes Miller's had great players, but there's never been that guy that you can point to and say, like, that is Cincinnati basketball. And you're 1,000% right. That is the issue. We're still searching for it, and it's nowhere in sight, unfortunately, man.
Yeah. Hey, I hate to see Cincinnati going through the struggle, man, because I like them when they're really competitive. I mean, they're still competitive, but they're not the same.
Let me ask you this, Vaughn. Who broke your heart out of all Cincinnati Bearcats players over the years the most? Is it going back to the Conference USA? Is it, you know, in the last 10 years when you guys had those teams with Rob Gray and you were really solid and we took you out in the tournament? Like, who is the guy that killed you?
Cincinnati was always they were the team to catch. You know, Cincinnati has a huge history, and they've beaten Houston so many times in the past. And they kept saying it on their broadcast, you know, Cincinnati's 30-1 versus U of H and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, the guy that really used to make me mad was Cummings, Jared Cummings.
Cumberland.
There you go, Cumberland.
Yeah.
Man,
it's been so long.
Had the shot. What was that like?
He specifically did it against Houston. It was twice in the AAC tournament. One of them, Houston. We had no business beating Houston, and Cumberland and Jennifer and that whole team went off, man. So Vaughn, good stuff, man. You're giving me a good reference for Houston Cougars fans, because I've never met one aside from you, and you're the man, Vaughn. So thank you for joining the show today.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, man. All right, let's welcome in Timmy. Is this the famous Tim Hines?
This is him. What's up, guys?
What's on your mind? You calling from South Carolina?
Nah, I moved to Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus. All right, we got people from all over the globe calling in. We've got Maryland, we got Houston, and we got Timmy calling from.
Show.
It is. What's on your mind, Tim?
I feel like you guys hit on a lot of spots. I mean, the rebounding. I feel like winning teams will get some of these rebounds we're not getting. I mean, we're not boxing out. Over the course of 20 games, you can only blame bad luck on so many games. I mean, eventually you gotta create your own breaks, create your own luck, and we're not doing that. I mean, whenever we get within 5 or 7 points, I feel like we give up a wide open put back, stick back. And I mean, Texas Tech, you got to give them credit.
They're good.
I mean, they will make you pay on everything that you give them, but we were giving them too much. And I mean, like you said it earlier, UCF coming up, they're scrappy. Like, that's not an easy win. You can't get in too big of a hole. I think Vaughn had some good points, especially with like not having that alpha leader. Like, these guys are like UC players. They're real connected, but like they're not giving each other tough love, which in these kind of games you need that. And it's almost like them and the relationship with Wes Miller it's like too much of a friendship rather than like holding each other accountable. Like Jaron Cumberland used to do it, SK used to do it. We just don't have that, and we have opportunities coming up. but you got to bank on one or two more eggs. We're going to lay one or two more eggs, right? So it's going to be tough to get over that hump without going on a major streak. And I just don't know if this team is capable of going on a consistent streak because they lack consistency.
Good stuff, Tim. You're one of the most positive human beings from what I know about you. And you seem very dejected like most of Bearcat Nation tonight. But I'll tell you this, Tim, the only way to go is up. I promise you that, my friend. We're going to get back there in both football and basketball. Some of these shows, one day, Houdini and I will not die until we are doing these shows and saying the Bearcats are back on top of the world.
Dude,
although we said that this year.
I feel like we need like a 30-minute break before these shows start on these losses because they're getting hard to take, man. They're getting hard to take.
No doubt about it. Tammy, have a good rest of the night. Thanks for calling in, my man. Let's welcome in Reed to the show. He's driving home from what I presume Fifth Third Arena in the freezing cold. Reed, my man, how we doing?
Not too great. Not too great.
I could have guessed
freezing
that.
cold. We got a couple disgruntled Bearcats fans. Yeah, impossible to get out of the garage, but I got a very special guest for you guys.
Yeah, hey, Campus Green, figure it out. Figure it out, Campus Green. What is it, 9:36? I can't get out of the arena.
We got one of our hosts, Nick Niehaus, who reportedly has broken his foot from stomping so hard at the play from the Bearcats tonight.
See, that's why I wanted to come on. No, that's why I wanted to come on.
He's a stomper. He told us that when he gets pissed, he stomps his foot over in 136, and it's like, dude, who stomps their foot?
I can attest the floor was shaking.
No, see, what Hudson said, this is why I wanted to come on. What Hudson said with his girlfriend passing him, and she's like, well, you're not even pissed off. He's like, I'm used to it now. I had my buddy stomping the floor today, not Reed, another friend of mine we were watching with, and I'm just laughing at him. I'm not even upset anymore. We've become so used to this not winning at Fifth Third Arena against a somewhat, elite team. Like Texas Tech, don't get me wrong, like I think they're top 25 good. They're probably top 15 good, but we can't just expect to lose these games every single time. So, that's it, guys. We can't get out of Campus Green. Tonight sucked. Yeah, that's all we got.
It was insult to injury trying to get out of that garage.
No doubt about it. Thanks for calling in, fellas. Houdini, soon they're going to have disposable pen night or something at the arena just to – I mean, that's why Niehaus is going to the games at this point, right? He's like, I have a bond with this community. I want to go. I want to have about 7 Cincy lights, and I want to be pissed off. But that's the state of the Bearcats, folks. It's kind of sad. I'm running down through the notes trying to figure out when this thing went wrong. And at one point, this was a decent game. Like Tech started 2 of 11. Cincy had, I think, an 8-point lead. Tech's coach was furious, screaming. I was like, all right, these guys look terrible. Then Tech went 11 of 13. It was brutal. The positives, Jizzle found his mid-range. Jizzle looked very good. That's about it. That is about it positive-wise. Yeah.
We got Vaughn calling in as a Houston fan, and he feels bad for us. That's how bad this is getting. Like, he's like, I just kind of wanted to see you guys be more competitive. Honestly, I used to be a big rival, but I don't really see it like that anymore. It's tough, man. And maybe he's right. Maybe we got too many nice guys on the roster. Like, we don't have that enforcer. We need somebody getting in each other's faces, more accountability on this team, light a fire under somebody. And I still look at maybe that one guy off the bench, Rayvon Griffith, because I refuse to believe that he would allow that many offensive boards. Just let him get him.
Stop.
Just put him in. Let him get scrappy. Get some energy on this damn team. Did you think the energy was high tonight?
You sound like I mention this sometimes. I host the Locked On Warriors shows, and the entire Warriors nation right now, instead of just saying like it's over, the dynasty is done, they all say like, play Quentin Post more. Why are you going so small, Kerr? We need more Guy Santos. It's like you can't rearrange chairs on the Titanic. You can't rearrange the deck chairs. At a certain point, Wes constructed this roster. There's too many flaws. They're not good enough. And I thought they were at some point this season. I'm still holding out a sliver of hope. Like 2 years ago when Wes came to the podium and he said, we're going to figure this thing out. All the movement posts. He said, we're going to figure this thing out. I promise you, we're coming. If it's the last damn thing I do, I will die before this team doesn't figure it out. And I said, Wes, What are you going to do? You going to play Jarrett Hensley more? You going to get more from Micah Adams-Woods? Like, your team just sucks. This year I look at the roster and I say, okay, maybe if Jizzle puts it together, Dan improves, Dillon kind of finds an offensive bag, like maybe this team can be tournament bound. But there's too many ifs at this point. I mean, every team that Cincinnati has played that's going to be playing in March, we've lost to. Every single one of them. We as Bearcats fans, we want to get to a Final Four someday. Obviously, you got to start with just making the NCAA tournament, but we want to get back to that point where we can make a Final Four. If you can't beat anyone, you're not going to win a game in the NCAA tournament, unless I guess you're NC State last year. That's what we're hoping for right now. Kevin Keatts saved his job last year. He was done. And NC State just made this miraculous run to the ACC championship. They won that, and then they went to the Final Four. And it's like, well, here's 4 more years of Kevin Keatts, which reminds me, I got to look up how NC State is doing this season, because that was the most ridiculous thing in the world. NC State is 13th in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They're 2-5 right now. We all know that Kevin Keatts isn't a good coach and isn't going to figure things out there, but he just made that miraculous run. Mike Davis did it in Indiana, and it, made Mike Davis look like a competent coach, and he got some jobs that he probably shouldn't have, and he didn't do anything anywhere. Although I think he took UAB to a Sweet 16, maybe beating Kentucky. Squeaky Johnson. But anyways, that's really it from me. What are your final thoughts before we shut this thing down?
I'm not selling all my stock just yet. Like I said, I think, what was it, 5 quad ones in a row for us?
Well, guess what, Houdini? You bought your stock at $7.89 a share, and it's down to
low.
about 30 cents. So, of course, you're not going to sell it because you're getting nothing.
Yeah, it's a penny stock right now. But, hey, I've seen companies almost go bankrupt, and all of a sudden you're swimming in cash, okay?
Have you?
So, it's very rare, about 1 in 1,000. But when you look at – you're right, we haven't beaten any good team. We've beaten all our quad 2, I think we're like 8-1. And with that loss to Kansas State, we're 0-5 in quad 1 wins. We haven't beaten any real tournament teams. And at some point, you got to do it. And we got plenty of opportunity left. But, yeah, we are trending massively down. This was a really tough one. And to Matthew Myers thinking I was drinking a Twisted Tea, this is actually a Trader Joe's seltzer. That's how bad this is, guys. I'm drinking a blue raspberry lemonade seltzer from Trader Joe's. No alcohol at all. But I might need to take a pull of bourbon or something before I get some rest tonight, because this is not fantastic at all. This is pretty sad. We look.
I opened up the season. It was a party for the Bearcats after Alabama State. After Wes is saying that everyone should get their money back, and it was the most disgusting performance he's ever seen. I was still cracking Miller Lights. You haven't seen me crack one in weeks, because it's just I don't even have the motivation to crack one for this team right now. And I had the champagne ready to go today for this 3-game winning streak. I told you, I'm going to pop it. This was the champagne that was supposed to be popped last year after we beat Xavier at Centos. We didn't do it. Then we were going to pop it if we beat Houston, when I think they were 1 or 2 in the country. They didn't do it. We were going to pop it if they beat Kansas on the road. They didn't do it. So I asked you this year when they beat, I think it was Dayton. I was like, should we pop it? And you said, no, we got to wait for one. And we're still waiting for it. And tonight was going to be the night where I popped mine. I had it ready to go, and can't pop it after an L.
Maybe we just do it BYU. It'll be midnight. It'll be technically a quad 1 win. Maybe that's where we're at as a program. The bar set so low that we pop champagne for a road win at BYU. Maybe that's the reality.
Was that a quad 1 win? I mean, at this point, that's worth popping champagne for. Those things are hard to stack up.
That's what I'm saying. No, at BYU's quad 1, at Utah's technically quad 1.
There's no way at Utah's quad 1.
Yes.
There's no way.
Yep. Yeah. They're
so
70. They're 73rd.
Okay, so here's the plan to the season, because Cincy has shown that they can beat the trash teams in the conference, and I believe that Utah is trash. So let's just start stacking up wins on the road against teams that are not better than us, UCF being potentially one of them, and let's just get like 5 quad 1 wins to where when our resume pops up on Selection Sunday, in that pre-show, every single college basketball fan out there in America sees the question mark, the blind resume, and they're like, that team shouldn't get in. That's a garbage resume. Their best wins are at Utah and at BYU, and a home win over Xavier, and a road win at, Oklahoma State and whatever it may be, a home win against West Virginia. Let's just be that team. Let's just get in ugly. Let's win some of these games that we're supposed to win. But here's the deal, Hudson. BYU, I don't like using the words must win because we've used it so much this season. This is actually legitimately a must win game. If you lose to BYU and you're 2-6 in the conference, it's over. It's over.
Off the rails.
It's over.
Oh, it's completely off the rails. If they lose at BYU, which is a very losable game, don't get me wrong.
Losable. We're going to be underdogs.
I love how I'm looking at this schedule now, just going, God, that is very losable. I'm not even looking like that's a winnable game. Like, that is a very losable game for this team. But yeah, it is Armageddon. If we lose at BYU, I mean, we're done. I mean, we are toast beyond belief. And then we're talking about finishing in the bottom 5 of the Big 12, which we were picked to finish, what, 6th?
Yep.
Jesus.
We were a hot pick, man. The analytics loved us. I think we got up to top 15 in the country, top 10 in the country at one point in the net rankings. Let's do a Wes Miller watch on Twitter. This is a new segment where we go up and down the Twitter airwaves, and I'm sure there are a lot of angry comments, which is a good thing because it means people still care. We had Keith Williams, Bearcat legend, on the show a couple months back, and he said that year, his senior year with John Brannon during COVID, where there were, 10 fans in attendance, he said that he used to check in on the pulse of the nation after losses on Twitter. And he was like, no one even cared. I'd search Bearcats and it'd be a post from 2021. Although this was technically in 2021, but you know what I mean. 2019, there was no one talking about it. So we got Roy Williams looking all pissed off with the score bug saying that Cincinnati's down 7. It says Roy checking in on Wes Miller and the Cincinnati Bearcats. We have coaches looking for that's actually positive words. No, Bearcat Journal is not going to be talking anything. Corey Wimmer says Wes Miller against any basketball team with a pulse, giving the choking emoji. We have from the Hoop Herald, Wes Miller on the issues defensively today. Quote, we were number 1 in the nation defending the 3-point line. Technically, you were number 2, Wes, entering the game, and they hang 12 threes on us. Very frustrating. He was definitely upset. We have not even a lot of people complaining about Wes Miller right now on Twitter, which is not usual. We have plenty. I hit top, and obviously top is kind of state-run media, whereas when you hit latest, you get all the angry people. So we got Wes Miller quad 1 record. He's 6-32 in quad 1 games. He's 0-10 at home. That is terrible. We have the Wes Miller experiment has to be over from Tyler Smith. We have list goes on and on. Please extend Wes Miller from a Xavier fan. And then last one, before you guys send hate towards Wes Miller, remember you aren't just attacking the coach, but a father, a husband, and a Christian. One bad game shouldn't take away what he's brought to this program, and we shouldn't look forward to seeing him continue. We should look forward to seeing him continue to lead our Bearcats. Look, it's 4 years. They're not going to do anything about it. So be it. That's on the AD for getting us into this sticky situation, but I do not believe that this guy is going to turn around. Prove me wrong. I love the Cincinnati Bearcats. It pains me to see them like this. I thought he was the guy just like everyone else. He bought me in the pressers. Houdini has a tattoo of Wes Miller's face on his ass cheek. I didn't go that far. I do have a C-paw on my ass cheek. I digress. This isn't working. This isn't working. It's not fun.
That tweet say Wes Miller was a father?
He's joking. He's joking.
Oh, you never know.
He's a Texas Tech fan. He's a Texas Tech fan that sent that.
If you go through, if your algorithm just isn't right if you don't see any negative tweets about UC. I mean, that's the one thing that you can point to. There's still a lot of passion around this fan base. A lot of people are pissed off. No pun intended on Wes saying that after every presser that he's pissed off. But yeah, people are not happy, and rightfully so. Like you said, I mean, what was it? He's 0-10 in quad 1 wins at home. That's ridiculous, man. What are we doing? Who are we? This team UC should never be 0-10 under any tenure in quad 1 wins at home. Protect home court. And he hasn't done that at all, literally at all his entire tenure. This isn't year 2. This isn't even year 3. This is year 4, man. We got to step it up. We got to turn it around. Hopefully they can rattle. Beat BYU, for the love of God. That's all I ask.
Should we play for the outro, should we just play the chatter, the podcast that we do together that has been on hibernation? We got Ice Cube and Josh Johnson in back-to-back weeks, our 2 biggest guests ever. And then we folded. We got too busy, but maybe we'll have to start doing some bonus episodes on Chatterbox Bearcats.
We lose to BYU. We might have to just stop this program altogether and just go to that full time because, how many people are going to be tuning in? We already had a couple guys stay crazy in the chat said he's done watching UC basketball until further notice. So we're losing people. They're dropping like flies. We can't have it.
Well, subscribe to the chatter because maybe we'll pop out a few episodes here. That is it from us, Chatterbox Bearcats. Find us wherever you get your audio podcasts. If you're joining us on YouTube for the first time, you like the show, definitely subscribe to the audio podcast. It will be there for you in just a little bit. And by just a little bit, I mean late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. For Houdini, his name's Hudson Klauke. I'm Chuck Walter. Have a great night, everyone.
We're going to miss you so much. You've done such a wonderful job. Yeah, nice job.
Why do people voluntarily choose to live here?
Let's kick this guy's ass. This guy seriously looks like a penis.
All right, when do we see you back on the air again?
What if I told you that change is inevitable? That dreams come and go? What if I told you that the past paved the way for the present?
That's not very PC. Imagine if it was a one-legged man and they're like, oh, there goes Pogo Stick.
I just waited an hour and a half for this funnel cake.
Home to the heated MySpace Top 5.
I was going to do soup, and then I realized that would make me the biggest douche on planet Earth.
Chuck did take down Miles McBride in a game of basketball.
I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you guys that dub.
Entertaining guests only.
Are we allowed to cuss on this show? Is that okay?
You're allowed to say whatever the you want, Sean. You can say whatever you want.
I'm no GM, but give me Lorenzo Neal on a lifetime contract.
So the fullback position, I like to call it the old onion position.
Hitting a baseball is probably the single most difficult thing to do in sports.
We could just get a small soundbite saying they got to go to the Final Four or
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
All right.
They're the bad boys of broadcasting.
Instagram handicappers, we're alphas.
The take artist kings of the Midwest.
I'm not worried about the Chiefs. I'm more worried about Joe Flacco.
Telling stories.
I'm scared of the cold tub, man.
Telling tales.
Now the Halloween guys are like, I don't know what to do. They're like, get big Buzz Lightyear with rock hard.
With a whole bunch of chatter.
Where is he?
The Chatterheads have spoken.
You guys are awesome. To be on this podcast, fun. I'll do this anytime. I love this, man.